Hey guys, today we're going to make a Batman mosaic with the Batman symbol. And for this we're going to need glue, scissors, and our template ready to cut out and assemble. This template was printed out on A4 paper. So this is what it looks like. You can enter the blog and acquire the template there, and then you can assemble it with me. Whenever I cut out the template, I leave a white part both underneath and on the side part. This means that I'm able to glue my template on top of this white section. And now we're going to transfer our template all glued together onto a 5mm thick foam board. And so you just need to get a pointed object and trace it out on your board. Before tracing onto my foam board, I'm going to have to add on another piece of foam board onto the side so that it's the right size. The one that I bought is 122 centimeters by 60 centimeters. I used around 3 whiteboards and 1 blackboard. To join the boards together, you just need to cut out the piece that is missing, and so with some masking tape, I can stick half onto the section I'm going to add on and stick the other half on the other section. Then finalize gluing them together with a glue gun, joining the parts of the boards together. And so they're going to be held together with both masking tape and glue. And this is how I do the parts that need to be added on to make the board the correct size for the template. And so I do this for both the bottom part and the upper part. When it's all ready, it will be approximately 90 centimeters high and 145 centimeters wide. Now I'm going to transfer the template onto the board, and so I'm going to use this needle that I have here, a pointed object to trace on the board. You could also do this with a pen. The only problem with a pen is that you won't be able to draw on the inner section, the symbol part, unless you cut through the paper to do the outline of the inner part. But instead, you can use any pointed object or use the pen with force in order that it marks the board on the bottom section. Once I've traced out the outer outline, I also trace the inner outline of the symbol, which is of the bat. Now, going to the board, it's time to cut the board, and to cut it out, I'm going to use a sharp utility knife. It has to be sharp in order for the edges not to turn out rough. So if your utility knife is not sharp, you just need to sharpen the blade, and then you can begin cutting out your board. Now that I've cut out the whole outer part of the template, I'm going to make some 14 centimeter high strips to glue onto the frame. For the frame to be rounded, you need to make some light cuts on these strips. The cuts that I do are more or less every 2 centimeters. Making this light cut, it doesn't cut all the way through the board, it just cuts the first layer of the board. This board is nothing more than pressed styrofoam. The upper part has a layer of paper and the lower part another layer of paper. So you're just going to cut through the upper layer so that the lower paper remains intact. So now you will have a more malleable board for you to bend or make it more rounded, which will look really nice on your finished structure. I use the black strips to do the inner section of the structure and the white strips to do the outer section of the structure. I even went ahead and traced out the inner part using a pen so that you can see it better through the screen. It's really easy to glue them on. You just need to use hot glue along your trace lines and glue on your board. You can even make your measurements whilst you're gluing the strips on so that you know where you're going to glue them and the size you're going to size them to. As I made some large strips, I started gluing them onto the board following the frame, and as I needed, I cut them as I was gluing. This is why it's really important for you to have a very sharp utility knife for this moment. Whilst you're here, let me know if you're enjoying the tips and leave me a like. Also, go ahead and put some ideas for a video or a theme so that we can do it for you here on the channel. Once I had glued on all of the outer edges of the board, I began doing the painting. I'm going to use a paint, and this paint is gouache paint. I always suggest that you use a PVA craft paint, but gouache paint also works and is super affordable. So here I use gouache paint to paint the black inner section, and to do the outer parts I used a yellow PVA paint that I already had at home. PVA paint takes a lot better. The tone and the finish of the color looks much better than the gouache paint. I thought that the gouache paints looked a little pale, but it's more economical, and after you will fill it with balloons and nobody will notice the faults in the finish. Wait for it to dry. If you need to, you can give it a second coat, which also looks much better. After doing all of this, I blew up the balloons. Black ones for the black part, of course, and yellow ones for the yellow part. I used both 5-inch and 9-inch balloons and blew them up to fit my structure. I did this by putting the balloon where I wanted it to fit in the sculpture and blowing it up within the sculpture. Many of the balloons were blown up to 6 inches, others a little more and others a little less, and you can go ahead and do this however works best. Blowing them up, it will look great whichever way you do this, independent of the sizing of the balloons. You can fill it with lots of little balloons, which looks really cute, or you can do it as I did here, which is faster and more practical. After they've all been blown up, you just need to glue the balloons on. For this, you can use some double-sided masking tape, or you can glue it on with a glue gun. Remembering that the glue gun must have a low temperature setting. So it has to be a glue gun that doesn't heat up so much, and that the glue is a little thicker. When the glue is very runny, it means it's very hot and it can be dangerous. So you need to choose one that has a low temperature setting and just glue on one balloon at a time. So now when you raise up your sculpture, the balloons shouldn't fall out and you are ready. Your structure is ready and it looks great. Everyone will most definitely want to take a photo at your party with this decoration because it's really cute. Well, I'm going to stick around here. Lots of love to you all and see you next time. Bye!